Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how I do it, even if you don't care. And we're about to wrap up the Battlefleet Gothic sector book on the Imperial Navy. And when we last left off, we just did the cruisers, so we're up to escorts. Now, all these escorts, unless I say otherwise, are gonna be having 1 hit point, which is your standard for any escort in almost any fleet, 25 centimeter speed, 90-degree turns, 1 shield, 5 armor, and 2 turrets. And the first ship in the list is the Sword class frigate. This is a really nice support ship out of all of them. I mean, it's got 4 weapon battery strength that can fire from its front, left, or right arc. And like I said, it's great in the support area. You can sit there, you bring them with a bunch of cruisers, and they just join in with the firefight with their weapon batteries, and they can just really be a nice asset, especially if you have a bunch of them. They can really do a lot of damage. Like just with 4 of them, you can get about 16 weapon batteries, a total of 16 strength, which allows you to really rip into any battle cruiser they get into. They can even take on battleships if they wanted to, but they wouldn't last long. But if they got in there and were able to fire their weapon batteries, they can do a good chunk of damage to the battleship that it went up against. Granted, after that they'd probably get destroyed, but still, they're they're really good offensive, and they're also great defender class escorts, in my opinion. And which is really good for them because, with your battle cruisers, you don't always want to have some escort support sometimes, especially with Imperial Guards, Imperial Navy, forgive me, since their ships tend to be a little bit slower than some of the other ships. Now, the next ship is one of my personal favorites, which is the Firestorm class frigate. The Firestorm sacrifices its 2 of its weapon batteries for a lance that fires from the front. So it still has 2 weapon batteries on its side, but now it has a lance shot. And the lance shot, I think, is a nice improvement to the ship because it also gives it some long-range combat capabilities and allows this ship to be more of an independent ship on its own. You can have a bunch of them in a squadron fly around, and they don't need to stick around a cruiser or battleship to have some heavy-hitting weapon power behind them. They can fly in, do some damage with their lances, and then go in for a barrage run if you get a bunch of them together. Or you can keep them alongside some of your closer range cruisers or closer range battleships and have them do some damage with their lances first, so the battle cruisers have a little bit easier time with the enemy vessels once they get into weapon battery range. So I think for the additional 5 points that they are over the sword frigate, I think that's pretty much a better choice, or at least a better ship to have for its point values. So yeah, basically that's it. The next one is the Cobra class destroyer. Cobra class destroyer is a great defensive escort because it's got 1 weapon battery and 2 torpedoes. It does lose one of its turrets. It does lose a turret, and it does lose its armor, dropping it down to 4, but it makes it up with a 30 centimeter speed, and it does have 2 torpedoes on its side. So this is a great board control vehicle because you can just launch wave after wave of torpedoes. Granted, these waves are easily destroyed by 1 solid direct hit shot, but it's still on ships that are trying to control the board. They have to consider the fact if they're going to hit the torpedoes or not, and could also cause them to waste their shots on torpedoes rather than battle cruisers and such. And the other thing is they've got nice weapon batteries. That's only 1, but it's good to add that additional 1 shot when a battle cruiser goes up to an enemy vessel and starts pelting it with weapon battery fire. It's good to have that 1 or 2 extra shots depending on how many of the Cobra classes you bring alongside with the battle cruiser. So basically, with this ship, I would probably put it off on the side and try to run around the edge of the board, firing torpedoes wherever it can to try and cause the enemy to think about where they're going to go because the battlefield's riddled with torpedoes. Or which can be a bad thing for your ships too, since if they hit them, they're going to blow up either way because torpedoes can't discern from friend or foe. And or keeping them really close to a battleship or cruiser and just having it fire its torpedoes away and then give it a go and give some help to the battle cruisers when the battle cruisers get alongside enemy vessels for broadside attacks. Also to note, the 25th Destroyer Squadron Widowmakers carried experimental long-range detection gear. This doubles the leadership test bonus for enemy contacts. This is if you're within certain range of a enemy ship and it's under special order, you get a +1 bonus to your leadership tests that you do. But for these particular ships, if they're in a certain distance of an enemy vessel that's under special order, they get a +2. The +2 to the roll instead of a +1 whenever they do leadership check rolls. Only problem is they have to get rid of their weapon batteries to get this, so I personally would rather take the weapon batteries over the +2 bonus to the ship, especially since I want to try to avoid getting these Cobra class ships next to enemy vessels by themselves at any given point. Then the last escort in the selection is the Imperial Transport. I can't say really much about this ship. It's got a 15 centimeter speed, 45-degree turns, armor 5, 1 turret, and a dorsal weapon battery of 15 centimeters. That's a strength of 2 in its front, left, and right arc. Thing is, I can't really say much about this, is because it's a special vehicle. It doesn't have a point cost because it's usually only used as a objective in missions or as fire ships from planetary defense purposes. So basically, I don't see any point in this ship even being in the army listing because it counts as an escort, but it really doesn't do anything. It's mostly a mission objective thing. So it really doesn't have anything special going for it. So personally, I just think, I don't see the point of the ship there. It shouldn't have even bothered giving it some weaponry. I would just made the model and say this is a mission objective type of thing. But I guess they wanted to give it something so it can defend itself in mission objectives and such. And that's basically it. The only other thing in the battle fleet listing is the Imperial attack crafts, which are the fighters, the bombers, and the assault boats. Fighters are great against anti-ordnance, so if you have bombers or assault boats coming in your way, you can send, or torpedoes, you can send the fighters out to deal with them. Fighters can also could hang around a battle cruiser and be used as screening, so when ordnance waves hit them, they first hit the fighters and the first wave is destroyed automatically. Bombers are great since, like torpedoes, they cut through shields and just do bombing runs, and I could be saying this wrong, but I'm pretty sure with bombers, what happens is for each marker that touches a ship, you roll a d6, and that's how many attacks they get. And so that's also really good, because if you got like two markers touching a ship, that's a possibility of doing 12 attacks on one solid ship, which is very nice. And assault boats are really good if you want to have a more boarding action type of army, where if you want to have troopers come on and attack the cruise ship, sort of like in the opening of Star Wars Episode 4. So, like, if you're fighting Tau, assault boats are really effective. But other than that, that's basically it for this. We are finished these ships of the Gothic sector. We're going to move on to the next book, which was Ships of the Imperial Fleet. So, until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.